What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Arthur, and today we're going to go through the Grant Thornton Audit Virtual Experience by popular request. So let's get right into it. You open up your page, you have two sheets. I'm going to use Google Sheets for this, and I combine the two sheets together because I'm going to use either VLOOKUP or the index match function to copy them into the variance analysis sheet, which is the first task. So if we use VLOOKUP, we've done it before, it's pretty simple. Basically, you select a column, you select the value that you want, and then you select the column number. One and false for the exact match. There we go. So it works like this. So the only problem with VLOOKUP is when I drag it across, it's not going to carry through. It's going to give you errors, and that's because you would have to change the cells by hand in the formula. So today I'm going to use the index match formula. It's just going to be a lot easier, and I haven't used it on the channel yet, so it's going to be a good learning experience for people. So it works similar. You have to select a range of cells. I'm gonna put the dollar signs in front of the row numbers so those stay fixed. Then we're gonna use the match function. We're gonna do the search key, so that's the cell, and then by the row. Just like that. And now we have to use, so anchor them as well, and then we're going to use 0, which symbols that exact match. There we go. And now when we highlight it down, it should work just the same. But also when we go across, there we go. So basically it drags everything across, and we don't have to use VLOOKUP and keep editing the formula. Yeah, so that's just a nice, easy way, and it's actually it's a bit better than VLOOKUP because if anything changes, you add columns or rows, the formula should still work. So it's a scalable option basically. All right, so with task number 2, we have to complete the other 2 columns. Let's see what we have. So we're given information about highlight movements based on the following thresholds. All right, so we have 10% and 2.7 million. So, okay, so you can obviously go through and highlight it yourself, but again, it's not scalable, and I think if we use a formula, it should work. So I'm just gonna say this number is less than negative 2.7 million and is yes. And then the other way around as well. So if this number is larger than 2.7 million, yes as well. Close bracket. All right, so that one works. Let's see how we go with the rest. All right, so there are error messages, so that's because I didn't signify a false value. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just fix this with if error, and then I will simply put a comma and close bracket. So it will give us nothing. And hopefully that gets rid of it. Nice, okay. Not too difficult there. Now we have to go on to the next column, and the way I understood it was that we need the movement and the percentage to match up. So I'm going to use if and formula. Okay, they're in negative, so I'm going to use absolute value of this number larger than 2.7 million. Comma, and then same thing, but this time with the percentage. We're using absolute value because I think it just makes the if statement a lot more simpler. And y, close bracket. And scroll that down. Okay, well, looks like it's working. And one other thing that we will have to add is additional movement comments, and I'm just not sure how to add that in a formula, so we're gonna have to write it in. If you guys are confused by this, you'll figure it out when you read the next document. So, this one is other movement. The one below it is also other movement. 13%. That one should be other movement too. And yep, other movement. 1.7, I believe, other movement. I think there's one or two more other movement, and check the very bottom. Yeah, 38%, something like interest. So basically they match up with the things that I think the other thresholds, right? It will be explained within a little more detail with the next item. So in part number 2, let's see what they tell us. So they provide us with a new document, a summary of board meetings that essentially aims to explain all of those thresholds, right? So that's our job here, to see if the numbers make sense. So I read through that, make some notes. You see they talk about numbers. It's also important to just see what they're saying, so don't just search for the numbers. Make sure you read the entire comment box. For things like dates, I'm sure that's important, because it could be half year payment rather than full year, and so it makes it easier for you to understand numbers. So after making some notes, you should be able to get a couple things down. So this 60 million essentially can be explained with investment of excess cash balance into the deposit, into term deposits. You can reference the meeting if you want. 1st of July, I think. 15th of July. Okay. And as we go along, we can check those 5 million. So that one is not explained. Not balance, movement. And I believe this will be the money for the land or the site. I can't quite remember. Bank funded. I think it's actually not entirely bank funded. Purchase of land. It might be site. I'm just going to check really quickly. There it is. Yeah, okay, so it's site. That's the 10 and the 6 million. And then, what's that? 50 million. So I think that's talking about the optimization funds. Oops, approximately 40 million. So look, it says 50 million. I'm not really sure how accurate they want to be, but I'd say 10 million is a lot. So we're going to give that a no. Oh yeah, also fix up the others. That's a yes, no, yes. And basically continue on. So accounts payable, movement not explained. 22 million non-current trade and other payables. that's the recall. That one's pretty easy because it's just like a random payment in 2019. Yes. Next one. So there's a 10 million cash movement. So that explains that's the bank. Yeah, that's the bank loan. So site purchase, 10 million. Just only loan. Yeah, so that's a yes. Now next payment is retained earnings. So I believe that it does match up. So I'm gonna say yes. 2019. Now for other movements, this is the hold on. Revenue sales increase. So I don't think this quite works because they were predicted to increase, there was a decrease. I'm not sure, maybe due to recall. This one's not entirely explained. So we're gonna give that a no. By the way, in your notes, you might want to be a little bit more in depth in reality, but I'm just doing it quickly for the sake of time. Excess cash. Interest. So this is the interest from the term deposit with excess cash term deposit. Okay, great. Seems in line with what's happening. Put that down there and we can say, so it matches up with that top one. And continuing on, movements not explained. I'm just not sure what that one is. Continue on, 100% increase. What is that? Okay, so this one's pretty simple, talking about a government grant award. Yeah, just government grant. And then, so that is a yes. 20 million, so the 29%. So that's basically 30%, and they do talk about that in the board meeting. Materials purchased. So I think that's the closure of the competitor. Can add that something about the 30%. Increase in 30%, renew customers. I think that was the rough prediction. Other movement, minus 13. So production labor. So they basically cut a bunch of their workers by roughly 15%. They were relocating them. Not quite, not just a simple decrease in headcount. 6%. So this is the payables, right? Payroll, yeah. 2.5% increase in salaries from the 15% reduction. It seems like this doesn't quite work to me. I think the difference is too large. Okay, moving on. 1.7%. So this one's one of those that I was talking about. It's important to note the point in which it was expected to be put in place, because it's been in place for half a year for the rental costs. to increase 3.5%. So it roughly makes sense. Yeah, for half a year, 1.7%. Increase in operation costs to be 18 million. And this is another example of this one actually, because it was implemented just before the end of the financial year. So the payment it roughly makes sense, I guess. We can add that. So it was implemented in May, I believe. Okay, yes. And what's that? 22 million. So I think that is, oops. So that's, we talked about that actually. Yeah, cost of recall. And another movement, 38%. Interest expense, 10 million. So that's, I think that's the loan for land site. I can't remember. I think it was the land. And lucky last is the tax. So for this, I had to make a calculation for their revenues and apply a rough tax percentage of 30 on average. 2019. And I will say that, just important to have it there. Tax rate of 30%. And it makes sense. All right, so I think that looks good. All right, so that's about it. Pretty simple. That's part 1 and part 2. If you guys have different ways of calculating or making it a little bit more scalable, let me know. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next part.